Hello, we are volunteer from AUM Association and we are recording this podcast about nutrition as part of the health campaign, which is a focus on young people that we are having during this month of Solidarity. Specifically, we are going to talk about vegetable-based diets. So, I'm Sadig, I'm 24 years old, I'm from Azerbaijan, and I don't have a lot of knowledge about this topic. But I would like to learn, so today we can with another 3 volunteers that have different experience in this type of diets.
Hello, I am Oihana. I am 22 years old and I am from the Basque Country. And I've been vegetarian for almost 4 years. And what does this mean? Vegetarians are people who don't eat fish or meat, like we don't eat animals, but we do eat some products that come from animals, like eggs, cheese, or milk, for example.
Hello, I am Laura. I'm 24 years old. I'm from Spain also, and I'm trying to have a vegan lifestyle. That means that I don't consume any product that comes from animal. I don't eat meat or fish, and also I don't try not to eat milk and cheese. But there's more, not only a diet, because I also try to not consume products, for example, makeup that comes from animals.
Hello, I'm Elena. I'm 23 years old. I'm also from Spain. And in my case, 2 years ago, I started to reduce my consumption of meat. Now we can say that I'm flexitarian. That this means that I consider myself vegetarian. I follow a vegetarian diet, but sometimes I eat meat or fish, whatever. There are more definitions about this type of diet, but today we focus in vegetarian and vegan diets.
Okay, so to introduce these topics, we have prepared a little game for you, Sadig, and also for the listeners that you can play at home. It's a true or false game about vegetarian and vegan diets. So, are you ready?
Yeah, let's go.
First, vegetarian and vegan diets are the healthiest type of diets, true or false?
I mean it's false because it could be unhealthy.
Yeah, you are right. These diets, properly planned, are healthy, nutritionally adequate, and can provide health benefits in the prevention and treatment of certain diseases. However, it doesn't not mean that they are the healthiest. It just depends if they are balanced or not. For example, eating fruit and vegetables is so good for your organism, but if you only eat you don't have the all nutrition that your body needs.
Yeah, that's it. And also for having a healthy veggie or vegan diet, you should try to eat some carbohydrates in the day, for example, cereals and potatoes. Also some proteins that you can find in legumes or tofu and soya. Some fats, for example, nuts and seeds. Also, it's very important to eat fruits and vegetables to take all the vitamins and minerals necessary.
Yeah, of course, Laura, what you said is really important in all type of diets. So for the second one, we have this one. Being vegetarian or vegan makes you lose weight. True or false?
Maybe true, it makes sense to me. If it's just vegetable, you are not going to gain weight.
Okay, some people might think this, but it's actually false. It not necessarily means that you will lose weight. It all depends on what you are eating, in your exercise, in the type of food you are eating, like in any other diet, actually. So if you become vegetarian or vegan, you might lose or gain weight because you are having a big change on your diet. So if this happens, you should go to the doctor to check that you are really being healthy with this new diet you are taking. But you shouldn't actually lose weight.
I agree.
Yes, so another question for you. If you are vegan, you always need to take alimentary supplements. What do you think?
I think it's true. If not, you are going to have nutritional deficits.
And what type of deficit do you think that we can have?
I don't know.
Okay, so it's true that for being vegan, you need to supplement the B12, that it's a vitamin that is very important for the correct function of the nervous system, but also for the correct function of the blood, because it's related to the red cells. And if you have deficit in this, you can have losses of memory. It can get you to have depression, change in your mood, and some illness. and you found that in meat, but it's very difficult to reach the ideal level of this vitamin only with a vegan diet.
But Laura, I'm not really sure about this. Does B12 come from the meat or?
That's a good question because actually the B12 comes from some types of bacteria that you can find in the water or in the ground. And when the animals eat them, they produce more B12 in their intestines. So if you take the supplement of this, you are eating the vitamin directly instead of having an animal as an intermediary.
It's interesting. Okay, now Sadig, let's talk about money. Do you think that maintaining a vegetarian or vegan diet is more expensive?
I mean, it's false because the cereal and vegetables are not expensive.
Yeah, you're right. That do you say the basis of a vegan diet is fruit, vegetables, cereals, and legumes? These are much cheaper than animal products, such as meat and fish and stuff. Processed food is expensive, like for example a fancy vegan hamburger, but eating all day is not healthy and can be expensive. Like for example, if you go to McDonald's all the days.
Yeah. So another one, if I follow a vegan diet, I will have less energy or strength for doing sports.
This is true because I have a friend that starts to be a vegan and she doesn't feel well. She felt so tired, she started to eat meat again.
So you are wrong in this one. This sentence is false. Maybe in the case of your friend, she didn't have a balanced vegan diet or she didn't reach the necessary nutrients because she doesn't have the information, or I don't know. It can happen, but if you are careful with that and eat a lot of vegetal proteins, you can have all the energy that you need and the nutrients and have a strong life. In fact, there is a man that's called Patrick Babuiman that is one of the strongest men in the world, and he's having a vegan diet.
I didn't know it. Wow. So the last one we have, if you are vegan, you can have a wide variety of meals. True or false?
True.
Exactly, yes. Many people think that vegetarians or vegans only eat like boring salads and tofu, right? And at the beginning it might be true because for me it happened that I really didn't know what to eat. Like I didn't have options, but then I started to do some research, look for recipes, and really also talking with other friends helped me. And I discovered a whole new world around food, really. And now I eat much more variety of vegetables, of other types of meals, and I really think I eat a more varied diet than when I did before.
For me, the same. I started to learn how to cook when I became vegan. So I discovered a lot of recipes and vegetables that I didn't know. And now I think I eat more variety than before.
In my case, it's the same, yeah. When I start, I only cook the same thing, but later I find an app that is so wonderful, and I start to prepare more dishes, and it's amazing. That's what all the game. Now, Sadig, you can ask us things that you are curious or something.
For example, why do you people become vegetarian or vegan?
There are many reasons, but I think there are three that are the most common. One of them is taking care about the environment. For example, a shock date is, according to the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, almost 90% of the deforestation comes from agriculture expansion. But most of it is used to feed animals, not people. Also, animals produce a large amount of greenhouse gases, which is so dangerous to the environment.
Yeah, they say the cow's parts are the cause, really, but it's true.
Yeah, in my case, this was one of the reasons that I started to reduce my eat meat, and I become more aware of this problem after watching the documentary Conspiracy that I highly recommend. It's in Netflix, by the way.
I also watched that documentary before being vegan, and that also show another reason, that is the animal well-being. It's like a moral or philosophy motivation in which people don't want the animals to suffer or die for only your benefit. And in my case, that was the reason at the beginning, but also then I discovered the things about the environment, so that motivates me to start this way of life. And I want to mention also that related to this, there are some people that take into consideration the difference between consumed meat or meal that comes from macro farms, that the ones that come from more sustainable ganadery, in which the animals can have better lives, are more sustainable for the environment.
Yeah, completely agree, really.
Yeah.
And finally, there is another reason, which is health. And of course, eating meat is not unhealthy itself, but it is true that nowadays we consume too much meat. There is meat almost everywhere, and this is not healthy for us because eating too much meat is related to some diseases like cardiovascular illnesses, diabetes, and even some types of cancer. So reducing meat consumption is recommended by most experts. And also being vegetarian and vegan might help you to increase your consumption of fruits and vegetables. For me, really, a doctor says that you should eat 5 pieces of fruit, and it's still difficult even being vegetarian. Yeah, so for me it helps to eat more vegetables, and I think it can be helpful, but of course you don't need to become vegetarian to eat more healthy.
So I see there are plenty of benefits, but what kind of risk can we find and how can we avoid them?
I think the risks that people fear the most are the nutritional deficits. So we can talk about some important tips related to this and to having a balanced diet. For this, first, remember the thing that we talked before in the game about the B12 that it's necessary to supplement. But also, one of the typical difficulties that you can have in this type of diets is related to the iron. That it's really important to not be tired in your daily life and to have energy. For having the correct level of this, you should mix the sources of iron with vitamin C, because the vegetable iron cannot be absorbed in the same way that we absorb the iron that comes from meat. For example, if you eat a plate of lentils or some almonds or sunflower seeds, it's good if you also drink an orange juice, for example, that have a lot of vitamin C, to absorb properly the iron that it has.
Yeah, really important. When I became vegetarian the first time, I had problems with iron, so please
me too.
be careful. And another thing you should take into account is the omega-3. This is very important for your brain and your heart, and it is usually found on fish. So for vegetarians, we can get it from chia, lino, walnuts, and oils also. So you should take this into account.
Yeah, also with the calcium, especially for vegans. We should be careful when we choose vegetable milks, but because there are some that aren't enriched with calcium, others yes, and we should choose that they are enriched with calcium. And also you can find in tofu, almond, or sesame seeds. We should to be careful too about with a combination of food that you do, because it might make it more difficult to absorb it. For example, sugar or coffee.
Yeah, that's the same with iron. The sugar or the coffee is not a good combination to absorb the iron. Maybe you can eat it like 1 hour and a half later that you eat the thing with calcium or with iron, and it's going to be better.
Very interesting.
Yeah, but finally, I think it's very important to mention that it's important to take blood tests at least once per year to know that you are doing well and to prevent this type of deficits. So check in with your doctor, please.
Very interesting. And there are any other risks?
Yeah, for example, having a too strict diet is a risk factor for eating disorder. That if you want to know more, you can check our next podcast. And that's why the most important thing we want to highlight is the importance of flexibility. Because when you are follow a strict diet, sometimes you get guilty if you eat something that is not permitted in your diet. In my case, when I started to reduce my consumption of meat, like, oh, today I eat, I don't know, a piece of sushi that I love it, and I feel that I lose my progress, but it's not the reality.
Yeah, I think it also, if you are flexible, it's easier to make this change because it's really a big change. For me, first I stopped eating meat, and then after 1 year almost, I also stopped eating fish, and even sometimes like I could eat something that contained meat or fish, because I think if you have an all or nothing mindset, it's really difficult to change your habits.
For me, my personal experience also, I started more or less 6 years ago to be vegetarian. I spent 3 years and then became vegan, and now I'm fluctuating between vegan and vegetarian because sometimes I really want to eat something with cheese or with milk, and I decide to not put a lot of pressure in myself, and I feel better if sometimes I do these exceptions and eat some cheese.
So, girls, do you think that anyone can become vegetarian or vegan?
I think that maybe being vegetarian or vegan is not the best option for everybody because of many reasons. There is people who have many dietary restrictions due to an illness or allergies or whatever, and also people who don't have really a lot of time to cook or doesn't have access to information, etc. So, for example, in social classes is really related to how do we eat and what we eat, and there is actually a full podcast about this topic in the AUM radio, so please, if you are interested, go and check it. It's really good.
Yes, and it's so interesting. And there's also many ways to be helpful for the animals and for the environment, even without becoming vegetarian or vegan. You can, for example, reduce the meat consumption or try to buy different products that take into consideration the animal well-being. For example, there's different type of eggs, and you can choose the one that is more friendly with the environment or with the well-being of the chickens.
And remember, this is a personal choice, and you should always take care of yourself first.
Yeah, important.
And it's a pity, but this podcast is coming to the end. But don't worry, you can find more on our YouTube channels. So, as a conclusion, to sum up the most important things that you see.
Yes, remember that these diets can be completely healthy if you do it in a good way and being careful to have all the necessary nutrients and having a balanced diet.
Also, flexibility is the key, and any change you can do is helpful, really, for animals and the environment.
Yeah, and also it's important to be informed and check it with the professionals.
Yes, because we aren't professionals.
Yeah.
So this was our first podcast on nutrition. If you want to see more, follow us on social media.
Yeah, thank you for
Thank you for
listening.
listening.
And I hope you enjoy.
Yeah.
So see you next time. Bye-bye.
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 Bye.